I strongly dislike blood magic in Gregtech New Horizons. Between poor documentation, a confusing questbook page, terrible implementation of mechanics, and the Gregification of recipes, blood magic has been my least favorite part in the whole pack. All of it, however, was worth it for Meteors. My name is Nine, and today I'm going to show you a way to summon incredible amounts of rare ores out of thin air from the comfort of your base. Be aware that this is not a blood magic or a Thaumcraft tutorial, and will require your own knowledge of the two mods to set this up, as I am lazy. This will also be more of a guide and less a tutorial, as the required infrastructure varies wildly depending on your personal needs. In this guide, I will show you how to build the Meteor ritual, how summoning meteors works, some ways to mine them, and finally, how to automate them and integrate them into your AE2 system. Meteors cost one item ingredient and a specific amount of blood from your network to summon, making some meteors unobtainable based on your energy tier or your access to more powerful blood magic. To find a list of recipes, right-click the Master Ritual Stone in NEI. There are many meteors that are noteworthy. The most powerful is the Platline Meteor, which takes an IV scanner and gives you all unprocessed Platline dusts, which you can use to fuel your Platline. Additionally at IV is the Nequata Meteor, which takes an IV field generator to make Nequata, Deep Iron, Quantium, Draconium, and Adamantium dusts. At ZPM, you can summon the Lanthanide Meteor, which takes a ZPM circuit assembler and gives you all lanthanides as well as other products such as Tiberium, Indium, and Europium, allowing you to skip the Monazite and Bastnazite lines. Also at ZPM is the Neutronium Meteor, which uses a ZPM mass fabricator to get neutronium, black plutonium, and cosmic neutronium. This is much earlier than you can normally obtain cosmic neutronium, and as such is a heavy boon. In order to set up the ritual, you will need 108 ritual stones, a master ritual stone, and a ritual diviner that is dusk tier. Place your master ritual stone and right or left click on the ritual diviner until you find the Mark of the Falling Tower ritual. Right click the master ritual stone and it should be built by itself. You will need plenty of space for this, as the biggest meteor can drop with a radius of 35. But most meteors will have a radius of under 23 blocks. It is important to note that the radius of meteors in NEI is counted oddly, and a 16 radius meteor is actually 17 blocks in radius, counting the center block, meaning the diameter of this meteor would actually be 33 blocks. Generally, an area of 5x5 chunks with the Master Ritual Stone centered in the middle is advisable, but you can get away with less. It is also very important to place a single block approximately 50 blocks or more above the ritual stone to catch the meteor, otherwise it will simply destroy your meteor setup. Use a Thaumcraft wand with a warding focus on this block so it cannot be mined. In order to summon a meteor, you will need the amount of blood required for the summon in your blood network, which can be seen on the NEI page. Then, after using an Awakened Activation Catalyst on the Ritual Stone, you can throw your item into the stone. The meteor will fall from the sky and land, damaging everything in a large area, including some block entities like item frames. This is generally well more than enough damage to kill a player, and then some, so either evacuate the area or step out of line of sight to reduce the damage dealt. The meteor will spawn around the warded block you have placed, ready to be mined. Before we move on, it is important to note that you can use Orbis Terrae, crafted in a blood magic alchemy set, to boost the radius of all meteors by 2. This is done in an alchemic calcinator block, which is used by placing a blood orb within it, then supplying it with Orbis Terrae. If you have blood in your network and everything is set up correctly, the Orbis Terrae should begin to liquefy. Crouch and right-click the liquid-filled calcinator with an alchemic linker to set it to Orbis Terrae mode. Then, right-click the calcinator, and then the ritual stone to send the Orbis to the meteors. Remember that the relationship between volume and radius is cubic, and as such, a radius increase of 2 is much more ore. After setting up the ritual and spawning your first meteor, you will probably need some ways to mine it. The easiest solution is probably a Gregtech multi-block ore drilling rig. While it's quite slow, it's actually the most efficient use of your blood and catalyst item, as ore drilling rigs give you 3 times more crushed ore per block. You can speed this up by using 8 total miners above the meteor in every chunk surrounding the ritual. Make sure to ward the block directly below each miner so that it does not destroy your ritual. While using GT miners, you might find some issues, the main one being that meteors are not always composed of only ores. Some meteors have a stone-type block that can't be mined using GT miners, leaving a mess for you to clean up by hand. This sucks. Instead, there's a cooler, laggier, and much more tedious way to set up meteor mining that can drastically increase your throughput of items. If this is set up correctly, you may never have to go mining again. This technology uses arcane bores, a Thalmcraft block that uses an excavation focus and a pickaxe of your choice to mine out an area in front of it. The tedious part of this is that excavation foci have to be upgraded to make the most of them, requiring lots of centivis, XP, and patience. You can world accelerate the focal manipulator to speed this up, but centivis can only move so fast. Alternate between potency upgrades as throwaways and size upgrades to get excavation 2 on each focus. It is important to know that without a supply of centivis, excavation foci can only be upgraded once to excavation 1. You will also need a functionally unbreakable pickaxe. One of the easier ways to do this is by making void pickaxes, which regenerate on their own. By enchanting these with unusual levels of unbreaking, you can have a functionally unbreakable pickaxe used for your bores. Another thing bores respond to is efficiency on the pickaxe. Anything from 30 to 50 levels is recommended for the quickest mining times. Silk Touch and Fortune are unfortunately not applied to bores, which is a shame for update 2.7, which added fortune bonuses to player mined ores. You're probably wondering, 9, what do you mean unbreaking 20, efficiency 50? What? How? Well, I didn't really want to go here, but here we are. Using either a Botania Mana Enchanter, or preferably a Blood Magic Enchantress's Ritual, one can break conventional enchanting limits. To begin, enchant a dummy pickaxe with any enchantment. Then, use an Overchanter to increase the level of that enchantment by 1. Disenchant the pickaxe, leaving you with a book a level higher than you started. Repeat this process with your new book and a new dummy item to get ludicrously high levels of enchantment on anything. This technique was most famously employed by Neurotic Goose in his Garden of Grind videos. If you want a full video on this, bug me in the comments, but that's a little too in-depth for this video's sake. Arcane bores with higher levels of excavation foci mine a wider swath of blocks. Here's a demonstration of a plain excavation focus, excavation 1, and excavation 2. As you can see, excavation 2 has some dead zones that get mined incredibly slowly. By overlapping these dead zones, you can drastically increase your mining speed. To assemble these, place an arcane bore on a base as such. Add the focus and the pickaxe to your bore. Use a wand to rotate the base of the bore. This is where the ores will be output once mined. My recommended way to move these items the quickest is by placing an interface behind the bore. You can either connect this directly to your ore processing subnet, or you can use another subnet depositing all of the items into your ore processing subnet via a storage bus. You can also use ender chests, although I wouldn't recommend this as there are limited throughput options to empty them. Borers will simply throw ores that they cannot put into an inventory space into the world, causing a lot of lag. Borers also require a redstone signal to activate. I recommend using wireless receivers for this. You can set these to channel 9 to avoid conflicts with other redstone receivers. One efficient way to arrange borers is in a chessboard-like pattern for good blind spot coverage. I like to arrange them horizontally for the easiest setup. Build them as big as the biggest meteor you plan on summoning, while keeping in mind that the largest meteor possible is 69 blocks wide, and is gated to UV-powered assemblers. Borers can mine up to 64 blocks long, starting a block away from the front of the bore, and will try to mine other borers if given the chance. If your setup is small, like my main world setup, you can ward blocks directly in front of the bore to protect it. Ideally though, you can simply place your borers far enough apart that they cannot mine each other. Reality check. Ding ding ding. This single 35 radius meteor will not be worth planning around for most people, as its contents aren't even that useful, and its size can cause immense lag. As such, I would generally recommend a much smaller build footprint, as most good meteors are only up to like 27 blocks in radius. Building a ridiculously time-consuming and expensive setup for theoretical gain is not useful for most people, and you should absolutely test on your own what setup will work for you. This guide serves to arm you with knowledge, and I'm not here to convince you that there's one optimal build. I'm hoping that this guide can help you feel confident in making those decisions for yourself. The next level of Meteor integration is automation. In order to do some basic redstone automation on your Meteor setup, you can add a small circuit like so. Begin by placing a dynamism tablet facing into the master ritual stone. You'll want to set this to redstone control and right-click, putting your awakened activation crystal inside of it. Place corp blocks as such. Place a dropper on top of the ritual stone facing into it. Place red alloy wire as such. This way, the dynamism tablet is powered, but the master ritual stone cannot receive any redstone signal, as it will shut it down. On top of this, place a timer, a lever, and one more piece of red alloy wire. Set this timer to probably 150 seconds. Add a repeater facing towards the dropper, like so. Add a redstone wire onto the dropper, and set this to 16 ticks. Place a state cell facing this direction, with the output to the right. Use a red alloy wire and a corp strip to block it from interacting with the timer. Then place a NOT gate as such, and your wireless transmitter here, setting it to channel 9. Place one more red alloy wire here and set your state cell to 30 seconds. You can optionally place a button here to manually trigger the meteors, but don't do this unless you know exactly what you're doing. Measure how long it takes for your setup to mine the biggest meteor you will be mining. This number plus around 30 additional seconds is below the minimum you should set your timer to. For me, the biggest meteor that I can send gets mined in 90 seconds, so I set my timer to 120 plus 30 seconds. Your state cell should probably be set to around 30 seconds. This state cell is responsible for turning off the arcane borers as a meteor is summoned, as borers being active during a meteor's formation can cause a ton of lag, which can permanently break your world. The timer makes sure that meteors are not summoned on top of each other, which can cause catastrophic failure for your system. You are now free to place whatever catalysts you want into the dropper and sit back and watch the show as they summon one after another. You can stop here and enjoy yourself, or you can dig deeper into the rabbit hole. The final level of Meteor automation is adding AE2 patterns to call Meteors in order to fuel raw resources used in your crafts. In order to integrate or processed products from Meteors via pattern into your main AE2 network, you will need to add some advanced automation. The first step of this is choosing a Meteor and measuring the average amount of resources you get from it through ore processing. For example, when I summon a Meteor summoned with an exquisite diamond, my ore processing subnet returns around 10,000 graphite on average. Make sure to measure this for yourself based on your own ore processing setup. To be absolutely certain that my patterns will auto-complete, I pattern one exquisite diamond to return 5,000 graphite, which is well under what I will get on average. Place this pattern in an interface adjacent to your dropper and attach it to your main network. I would highly recommend blocking mode. Although you are free to place any amount of items in the dropper, by enabling blocking mode, the crafting screen will reflect more accurately how close it is to processing the Meteor. AE2 is funny, and even if the contents of your ore processing subnetwork are visible to the main network, the craft will not complete upon processing the Meteor. Instead, recipe outputs need to be deposited via interface into the main network. The solution to this is elegant yet convoluted. Attach a storage bus coming from your OreProc subnet facing into an interface connected to the main network. Configure this bus by adding a sticky card, then filtering your target item in the bus, in this case graphite dust. The sticky card will ensure that all graphite dust that enters or is produced on the ore processing subnet can only be stored into this storage bus, which deposits all graphite into the main network. This allows output items to count towards the recipe completion. On your main network, add a storage bus into a drawer or a super chest for each item that you have patterned. Sticky card and filter each storage bus container combo with the dust that you want to store. With all that done, you should be good to order graphite on demand through AE2 at the click of a button. I use this personally for platinum metallic powder, graphite, mysterious crystal dust, nether quartz, and lutetium, but you can use it however you like. You can also pattern multiple different outputs per single Meteor, and the AE system should take it in stride. With that done, you are now the master of your fate, conqueror of the skies, and visualizer of complex AE2 systems. You also have an amazing centerpiece to show off to your friends. I will leave schematics for my personal setup on the grid, as well as the ideal 35 radius Meteor setup in my Discord linked below. Hopefully, this guide gives you some ideas and the tools to conquer blood magic meteors in your own way. If you liked this video, please feel somewhat peer pressured into joining me on Discord or joining me on Twitch, where I stream from 11 PM to 2 AM EST nearly every day. Thank you for watching. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Peace.